Uh, John, whether it be to his age, whether it be to the substance use, just succumbed to the pressure of fame. He couldn't take it, and out he went. And all of a sudden, the band was in another state of band lineup turmoil. And eventually, in comes Dave Navarro, formerly at the time of Jane's Addiction. And from that comes an album called One Hot Minute. Do you wanna kick this one off, Dan?
Yeah. I think I'll first just want to state that if anybody hasn't listened to it, it's honestly not a bad album. It is a good album. It's a very good album. You know, it's just, it doesn't have John Frusciante on it. It's got Dave Navarro, also an awesome guitar player. If you're not familiar with Jane's Addiction, definitely check them out as well. But yeah, the creativity was different, but the songs are still there. The band was still kicking. It's just got a different vibe. It's got a darker vibe. I think, again, it's the songs are a bit lengthy. Like some of the jams, like at the end of Warped, is a bit lengthy, or the intro to Deep Kick. But the songs are awesome. And I love that Flea seemed, it seemed like there was a lot more Flea in this album than in Blood Sugar. And, I love Dave Navarro as well. So I think the mix, stylistically, maybe they weren't always on the same page, but it's music, you get cool stuff from that, like Peter Criss was a jazz drummer in a rock and roll band, so for me this one is a B tier.
Nice. I think that's a really, really good way to put One Hot Minute, and it's a really good way to, I guess, put it in the context of the times as well. I think no matter how you feel about this album, whether you love it or you absolutely despise it, or you are somewhere in between, any album, unfortunately, has the misfortune of being just the one after Blood Sugar. In this context, I don't think any album was gonna be able to surpass it, and that's not due to the album necessarily being bad. It's just due to the album before you being that big. In this case, I think this album has a lot of merit on its own two legs, but it definitely is missing a lot in terms of what I want in a Red Hot Chili Peppers album. I do feel that sometimes the band does sound lost. I think it did set the precedent a little bit for that sort of loudness war you'd hear a little bit on some Chili Peppers albums. You can definitely start to hear it here. That being said, though, some of the songs on there really are noteworthy, such as Aeroplane, My Friends, Shallow Be Thy Game. There are a few really strong tracks on here. I definitely do think, though, it was a really steep step down from Blood Sugar, but that's
steep.
It's pretty steep when you're comparing it to Blood Sugar. But had any other band released this at the time, we'd probably be having a different conversation. So it definitely is that there definitely is that at play. For that reason, though, it's hard. I'm probably going to put it at C. There are some strong songs on there, but definitely there are some songs that I'm beginning to not like, and that's not really something I can say about the previous albums, actually. There's songs I don't mind or songs I'm indifferent to. So, for example, like, I don't know, let's just say Uplift Mofo Party, there's like Special Secret Song Inside. Like, I'm indifferent to it.
That's awesome.
I don't hate it, but I won't go back to it necessarily. But it's music. It's cool.
The solo in that song gives me chills and everything all over every single time I hear it.
Oh, I totally get that. And the skill can't be denied. But again, it's that emotional attachment. And I think there are some songs on here where I feel like I do get a little bit lost. So like Transcending or Tearjerker, I do feel like the band loses me a bit, and for that reason, it does fall into that C tier. All right. In another turn of band lineup changes, we get John Frusciante back in the picture. I guess Red Hot Chili Peppers are the masters of playing John Frusciante ping pong. But in this case, he's on the side of Chili Peppers.
Either by choice or not by choice.
Yeah. But
Actually,
we make it to 99 with Californication.
Yeah. And great album, very, very good album, and there was a great mix of songs as well, they stayed true to their original funk blueprint, with songs like Purple Stain and Around the World. But they mixed it up with some more melodic stuff, and they'd touched on melodic music quite a lot in the previous albums as well.
Oh yeah.
But, songs like Scar Tissue and of course the title track, they're a different direction for the band, which they pursued quite a lot after this album, which we'll get into in a moment, boys and girls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I reckon it's a fantastic album. Good length and everything like that as well. So, but man, does this album sound like absolute crap. It just sounds awful, terrible. It's one of the worst sounding albums of all time.
Sorry to cut you off, Dan, but you got to look this up. If you guys ever get the chance, go on Google Images, and look up Californication album sound waves. You can actually buy like these like creators and stuff will make stuff on Etsy or whatever. They've printed out the sound wave of each Californication song. And those waveforms are hilarious to look at. Some of them are just a straight up like cinder block.
Yeah.
Like with how loud they were. Especially Easily, if you look at it, it's just a straight up square. God, yeah. I don't know how that happened, and I think it was considered one of the loudest albums of all time. But yeah, sorry for cutting you off.
No, that was pretty much all I had to say about the album. And I'll rank this one at A tier.
I think that's a completely fair marking. Guys, I think this is honestly my favorite album from the band. It's truly, for me, it's perfection. That also is to do with an element of nostalgia. I'm not gonna lie, this was the first Chili Peppers album I ever heard as a 7 or 8 year old, hearing it in my parents' car whenever I was going to school, whenever I was going to my extracurricular curricular activities. So this album has that deep emotional connection for me from start to finish. The playing is just so raw and powerful on this album. They were starting to mature in their sound a little bit. They were starting to evolve and adopt some pop tendencies in their music. It didn't become as heavily funk anymore, and they definitely started to incorporate some of that alternative style of music that was starting to be quite popular at the time. Think, bands such as Foo Fighters and whatnot. That was, I think, starting to permeate the sound of the band. This one is an easy S tier for me, no question. Absolutely amazing. Savior is an incredible guitar solo, but even all the hits and some more obscure ones like This Velvet Glove and Emit Remus or Summertime. But I almost can't fault this album at all besides the production. Easily S tier for me. I think now we get into the interesting territory. This is where we get Batista bombed in the comments.
Where one of us does.
Yeah, I think I get Batista bombed a little bit earlier. I get Batista bombed for my AC/DC rankings, but what do you think about this one, Dan?
Let me start off with the ranking, and I'll ask you a question. What's the lowest?
Oh god. Is this one of those things where I'm going to say D and you say like Z?
Oh, well, I was going to be nice and say D minus.
Alright, why is it D minus then?
Yeah. No, I just... This is one album that I don't get. I just don't understand it. I don't know why people like it. There's a couple cool songs and we know what songs those are. And, I don't get it. I don't understand this. Like, even the artwork, I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm happy to admit that I'm missing something. I don't know. If you can tell me, please tell me what it is, because I don't see it. I don't think it's true to the band's sound. It sounds to me like a side project. I don't think I have much else to say about this album, but I don't get it.
Alright. Yeah. Okay. Cue the Batista bombs.
Tell me I'm wrong,
Well, I can't.
I'm open.
It's that emotional connection that you have to the album.
Well,
I can't argue that for you.
emotions aside, it's just I just don't believe it's true to their sound. I don't get it. You know, there's no funk on it.
To some extent, it's yeah, and that's one of those things where you got to have that philosophical conversation as to like what is a band staying true to their sound. But I can see exactly why you would make that argument.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's clear up one thing for sure. They fixed the loudness war issue on this one.
Oh, still there.
Oh, but if with Rick Rubin around, you could sneeze and it'll peak.
Yeah, true.
Look, this album it hits a lot of emotional centers for me. Again, like this album was quite meaningful for me. It does have a lot. It's probably their least funky album, I think, out of all their albums. That's undeniable. There are some really special ones on there, such as obviously the title track. I really love the title track. There's a heavy arrangement to it. I love songs also though, such as Midnight, Warm Tape, Dosed. Those play into my liking for some other bands that aren't of that Red Hot Chili Peppers ilk necessarily, such as Foreigner or Queen or the Beatles or Kiss. Not necessarily that Red Hot Chili Peppers sounds like those bands in this moment, but it touches on some of those other musical inclinations that I have. And for that reason, I really take a liking to this album, even though it's not quite funky. But that being said, any album that nearly makes Flea quit is probably got something wrong going on with it. But all that aside, for me, it probably is an A-tier album, for me personally.
Maybe Flea almost quitting says something, I don't know.
He nearly quit, that's insane. Had he quit, the band would have died.
Yeah, that's true.
Although actually something that is undeniable, and I think you can vouch for me with this, of this era came one of the best live performances.
Flame Castle?
Yeah. I personally think that's such a special performance.
I've seen it.
Not for you.
I've seen it. Yeah.
You've seen it.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
You've heard it first, guys.
I like Off the Map better. Yeah, I like Off the Map.
I get that. My favorite moment is it's either John playing the solo of If You Have to Ask, and he just drops a massive slugger out of his mouth, or when the Foo Fighters pranked Chad and like all this like spaghetti and meatballs were like dropping on him. But that was a really, really good live album too. Like that one's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that one. Warfare over. We're on to Stadium Arcadium.
Do you want to kick us off with this one?
All right, I think this is where you're probably gonna Batista bomb me. This one, I'm gonna say this before I describe it. It's S tier. For me, it's a top album.
Mm-hmm.
S tier.
Uh-huh.
The songs, I think, and again, I always come back to this. It hits the emotional centers for me perfectly in how I feel about Red Hot Chili Peppers albums.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many songs to describe. I'm not going to get through all of them, but songs such as, I don't know, Wet Sand, Desecration Smile, Death of a Martian, the title track, Ready Made. There's so much variety on this album that really all different fans of the band across their career can come to like this. Like fans who liked the more melodic era can listen to things such as If or Hard to Concentrate. Fans who like the really early funky era can listen to things like Hump to Bump or Warlocks. There's something for everyone in this album, and I think it's the most mature they've sounded.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this sounds crazy, but I actually think there is a place for all 28 of those songs.
That's crazy. That does sound crazy.
That's how much I love this album.
I don't think that there's a place for those 28 songs. I don't know. Like, maybe it's the old school. Choose 12 songs, choose the best, you know. Even if those 28 songs were the greatest songs in the world, choose the best 12 of those, and then you'll have the greatest album that ever was. Yeah. That's my opinion.
I totally get that too.
Yeah.
I totally get that too.
45 minutes, 12 songs,
How many minutes?
killer
Actually,
albums.
how many minutes does this album clock out?
I've got no idea.
I'm actually
Maybe it says it.
just going to quickly look this up because there were also B-sides. Oh yeah, that's something that you guys need to keep in mind is that for every album that is being put out right now, there are so many B-sides. So many. The output of this band is off the charts. I happen to love the B-sides. I think out of all the bands I listen to, like for example, there are B-sides of Queen and Queen is one of my favorite bands of all time. Some of their songs, I can understand why they didn't make it to the album. There are some I really don't get why they didn't, but there are some I'm like, yeah, I can understand that. Red Hot Chili Peppers, you could almost argue that all their B-sides are good. Like the ones from as early as Mother's Milk, like Salute to Kareem and like the song that made us what we are today, to things such as what is it? Any of the B-sides from like Californication or By the Way, brilliant songs. So the album then is 2 hours and 2 minutes or 122 minutes.
So that's essentially an hour a disc.
Basically, yeah, and that's actually a pretty long album alone for some bands.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, my opinion of this is, if you chose the 12 best songs, I reckon you'll have probably one of their best albums, top 2 or 3. Aside from that, I'm probably missing something, but I look at the rest of the songs as filler, I don't think there's anything in it. So I think be that as it is, that's also I think Rick Rubin's style just got old at this point as well. You
can tell where he got a bit too hands off.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, but the songs that I like, which is around probably 10 of them, I reckon they're awesome songs. So I reckon that's sort of the silver lining for me for this album. I'd rank it a C.
C?
Yeah.
As much as I disagree, I also completely understand the arguments you make for why it's not quite the same as some of the other albums that you marked as high. I completely get your arguments.
I'll chuck it on and play it in the background while I'm doing something, and I'll enjoy that. But I won't sit down and sit in front of the stereo and listen to it and hold the artwork and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as we get further into the game of John Frusciante Ping Pong, John is out. And we are met with I'm With You. And in comes Josh Klinghoffer. I believe this album is 2011.
11, yeah.
The final album at this time with Rick Rubin. Do you want me to kick this one off?
Yeah, go for it.
This one I'm going to struggle with, honestly, because there are some songs on here that I think are really fantastic. Ethiopia is one of my favorite songs off this album. Monarchy of Roses. I love Meet Me at the Corner. There are some songs that I struggle to come around to, no matter how many times I listen to it. That being said, I think this album is evidence that to Red Hot Chili Peppers sound, Rick Rubin is in every respect of the word the fifth Chili Pepper. Because even without John, this sounds essentially in a lot of ways like a sister album to Stadium Arcadium.
Yeah.
That being said, it is quite a step down. I don't enjoy this one nearly as much as Stadium Arcadium. There are some brilliant songs on there. Josh, I think, brings his own unique flavor to the band, which I think should be applauded, but it is not the same. It definitely is not the same. This one probably goes into B for me. This is probably a B tier album. It's alright. It's alright. It's not bad, but definitely not the same punch as the previous albums.
Yeah. I think going back to when it came out, it was very, much anticipated. Everybody wanted to hear what Josh Klinghoffer could bring to the fold, and everyone was lamenting the fact that John Frusciante wasn't in the band anymore, and I remember when the first single came out,
Adventures of Raindance Maggie, is that?
Yes. Yeah. I would, just to get a stir out of the Frusciante fans, I'll be like, you know what? I think he's better than Frusciante. Better than Frusciante. Yeah.
Yeah, well, even then,
It was good it was good fun. Stylistically, again, I don't believe that he was the right member at that time for the band. Few good songs on this, but I don't know, pretty lackluster to me. This is a D.
D, I totally get that. Just more for the sake that it's just not that good, or that it's bad.
I don't know. I'm hesitant to call music bad. I think it's just too subjective. But
I get it. Well, I guess more to your taste, like in terms of like enjoyment.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me because I'm not ranking them that way. So, but it just feels like the band were going through the motions with it. To me, like if you're gonna bring a new member to the band, I think that member needs to bring something like,
very
like
different.
Brian Johnson with AC/DC. He brings something different and very unique and massive. And where the fans love both eras, near equally. So
exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's an entirely fair ranking, and honestly, I think this usually ranks pretty low amongst their catalog. Sorry. So we then come in with The Getaway, the first album since Mother's Milk to not be produced by Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Do you wanna kick this one off?
Yeah, and again, that was another like much anticipated move like that people wanted to hear as well. With the Chili Peppers with a different producer, and I think my opinion was that it wasn't really working with Rick Rubin after maybe One Hot Minute or Californication at least. Sorry, but I think with Danger Mouse it just didn't work. I think it really wasn't a good fit. I think it's a marginal step up from I'm With You, or maybe not. I don't know. I'll probably rank them the same, to be honest. But I don't feel the energy of the band with this. Yeah, given that, I would rank it lower than I'm With You, still at a D. But it's just the production, I think, wasn't it didn't captivate the listener, in my opinion. I think Nile Rodgers would be awesome for them to work with, in my opinion. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he's actually gone on record saying that he wants to produce the band. I reckon somebody like that, an old school cat that can bring the funk and and just provide the listener with a good time. But this is a D ranking for me.
Yeah, I get that. And again, I think people share a lot of that opinion with you on The Getaway. It's a bit of a polarizing album. This is the first album I remember anticipating before it came out. Every single album before this, I hadn't really followed along, mostly just due to the fact that I was too young. Even I'm With You, I was only 10 years old when that came out. Whereas The Getaway, I was in high school. I thought, oh my god, I love the Chili Peppers. I'm so excited for this album to come out. And I heard Dark Necessities, and I was really happy with the bass line. I thought, oh my god, they're going to bring back like that Blood Sugar sound, or like that really heavy, funky sound that I really love. It turns out they didn't really. And at the time, it led me to not really like the album as much. There were some good songs on there that I really enjoyed. I liked We Turn Red. I liked Detroit. This is an album that grew on me with time, I think. I think it was healthy for the band to try a producer other than Rick Rubin. Like you said, I think they had kind of like sort of gone as far as they could with Rick at the time. And I don't think it's good for any band to be too reliant on one producer. So I think it was good for them to try something different. That being said, some things worked with this album, some things didn't. But I think some of the songs really have grown on me with time. I find myself these days really enjoying songs like The Longest Wave, or Encore, or Dreams of a Samurai. The title track was one I really didn't enjoy in high school, and now I really do. As an album for what it is, I like it. I think it's really cool. It's kind of a weird one because I put it in B as well, but I probably put it above I'm With You, just by a little bit. I think cool. I like that the band tried something different. Ultimately, did it work or not? That's kind of up to the listener. In my opinion, I think it was a good try to try something new, and I loved this era live. The band tried so many different things, and that's something I loved about Josh, is how many songs he tried with the band from all eras.
Yeah, that's true. The live shows, we got to hear Aeroplane again.
Yeah, but even a lot of the obscure John era stuff. Josh was great at that.
Yeah.
So
he would always tease songs as well. Like I think he teased "Get Up and Jump" and "Mummy, Where's Daddy." I think. I think they played a small section of. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think they were very adventurous with him live. I think Josh's tenure with the band aged very well.
Yeah.
I think it did. For what it was, I think he tried a lot of stuff, and I think he breathed a little bit of life into the band at the time.
Yeah. The albums I didn't really enjoy listening to, but the live shows I would always scan YouTube for the live shows, Yeah. And mostly for that reason, because I wanted to hear like songs that that they haven't played since 1990 or
it was adventurous.
It was, and and respect to Josh for that. And it looked like Josh always had a great time playing with those guys as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Further again into the game of John Ping Pong.
Oh yeah.
Just a side note, I like as much as look, John is my favorite guitarist personally. I know that we don't necessarily share that opinion. But he's my favorite guitarist by far in the band, and I thought the way they got rid of Josh was absolutely disgusting. I thought that was really sad, how they just basically booted him after he had given a lot of years to the band and sort of breathed fresh life, and they basically just brought John back in just because he wanted to. And as happy as I was to see John back, and I still am, I thought that was pretty shitty of one of my favorite bands.
It was a sad story, yeah.
It could have, it just wasn't good.
Yeah.
That being said, it brought a very interesting album, Unlimited Love. Oh my god, when this, I was so excited to hear a John era album. I never thought that was going to happen again. I genuinely believed up until 2019, John Frusciante would never return to the band. Not realizing that for the game of ping pong to happen, the ball's got to come back. And he did. He came back. And when I went onto social media one day and I heard those opening chords of Black Summer, I think I crapped myself that day. I was like, oh my god. And then when the full song came out, I'm like, this is amazing. Wait, why does Anthony have an Irish accent? Oh my god, I love this song.
The Irish pirate accent. Yeah.
But oh my god, it was such an exciting album to listen to. At the time, I really loved it. It was it hit that emotional center for me. Like some of the earlier albums did, like Stadium Arcadium and Californication. It didn't hit quite as close. But wow, some of those songs were good. For me, like this is a bit of a crazy one. This one's probably an A tier for me.
I'm actually not far off with this one, yeah. And I'll explain why as well. I think, I'm not ranking these based on emotions, but personally, when I first heard Black Summer, I thought, it's not what it's cracked up to be, and Reunion, and whatever. But I was still excited, I'm a fan, and I liked the album much better than I liked the leading single. When I put the album on and listened to it from start to finish, I loved some of the songs, and I felt it felt like there was an energy in the band that hadn't been there for a long time.
There were some really cool ones in there. I think something like One Way Traffic, I think, was actually quite a bit of a callback to eras such as like the Mother's Milk era. I also really like some other songs such as Aquatic Mouth Dance and She's a Lover.
Oh, She's a Lover, yeah.
There's a lot of really cool ones on there. Again, Heavy Wing is one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
a lot of good songs on there. Again, it's hard to go back to all of them, but in a lot of ways, it does feel like a Stadium Arcadium-esque album.
Let 'Em Cry was on that one, yeah? Or the
Yes.
next
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah, yeah.
was on that one? Yeah. Also a great song.
Cool
Yeah,
album. Really cool.
I thought it was a great album. You know, it sounded like a good vibe. Yeah, so I'd rank the album a B.
Yeah, that's a strong ranking.
Yeah, and the criticisms, because this one gets lumped with the next album for obvious reasons. But I'll leave the criticisms for the next album.
Right.
Not necessarily being about one or the other. I'm going to lump them sort of in the same, feedback.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I will say that this is one of my favorite album covers too. If I hit the lottery one day and I make it rich, I want that neon sign in my room.
Yeah, I love that cover. That's a great cover.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. But considering that your commentary on Unlimited Love seems to connect to Return of the next album, or Return of the Dream Canteen, how do you feel about it?
I think the way that I feel about both albums, and I've harped on about this, throughout this episode, but again, the length, just way too long, It's like, do we need 2 double albums? It's cool, we get material and, the band seems to enjoy what they're doing and everything like that, but, do we need it? Like, it could have been like, get the best 12 songs. We could potentially be holding one of the best albums of the 21st century, I don't know.
No, I totally get it.
That's just my opinion, and like the Rick Rubin thing, it feels like the band is just producing themselves, I can't hear, and I know a good producer doesn't have a stamp necessarily, but, these albums do just sound like, the band's just hit record on a tape deck and gone for it,
Yeah.
But the big songs on this album, Tip of My Tongue, these are great songs. So
Eddie, the other one.
I don't like Eddie.
I get that.
Yeah. I'm a massive Edward Van Halen fan, but I don't like Eddie. I don't like the drummer. I don't see the appeal to some of those songs. Yeah. So, but the big songs, I reckon, if you lumped, the best of Unlimited Love and the best of Dream Canteen, we'd have a killer damn album.
Yeah.
But Dream Canteen on its own, I'd probably rank a C, a generous C.
I get that totally. This is probably the most okay about a Red Hot Chili Peppers album I've felt since like probably One Hot Minute, which is kind of weird. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I had this such strong reaction for Unlimited Love, and then Dream Canteen came out, and like I liked it, and I really appreciate it, and like they do sound like they're branching out a little bit and trying some new stuff. There's some textures here that I haven't heard before, so they're using for example electronic drums, which say what you will about it, but they're trying something new. They're using some 808s, electronic drums, but they are trying something new. I just don't know why I'm not connecting to it. It's just not hitting that center for me.
Yeah, it's got sequel vibes.
And I like Unlimited Love so much more.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. Like, there are some songs on here I actually don't remember how they sound, which is weird for a Chili Peppers album for me. Because even the albums I don't necessarily like, if you put them on, I would recognize them immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a song like My Cigarette is a massive departure. As a listener, I think, well, what is it?
Or like for example, I don't know how some songs sound like Bag of Grins. Like, I actually can't picture it.
I love the lead single was Tip of My Tongue.
Yeah.
Peace and Love, I think, is a great song.
It's pretty good. I liked Fake as Fuck. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and they played that live in Melbourne.
It almost felt a bit like Right on Time, a little bit. Like a reverse Right on Time. Like, instead of going from really loud to quiet, it went from really quiet to loud.
Yeah. I love Bella.
Bella's cool. And what's the other one? Why is it not coming to me now? Roulette. Not Roulette. Although that one's cool. Oh no, I can't think of it now, but yeah. I think this is kind of a testament to, like, this album just isn't as memorable for me as Unlimited Love. for that very reason, this feels weird, but I'm putting it in C.
Mm.
It's a strong C for me. I like that they're trying new stuff. I think it's cool. Very cool album cover. Just not hitting that emotional center like the previous albums were.
You know, it's funny that you and I just got right back to where we started from. So we ranked the debut at C and the latest release at C.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they need to...
with all of the different opinions in between, you know?
They need to release another 5 albums for me to go back to, like, S tier again. They probably will. They have so much output.
Yeah. I would love, you know, more albums by the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, so that takes us to the end of our video, guys. We've tier ranked all the albums. Say what you will about our opinions, but they are our opinions, and that is a fact.
Yeah, all I know is there's going to be a lot of hate for Danny Phillips in the
Oh, there'll be hate for Stav Karras as well, I'm sure, somewhere. But that's what this is all about. It's about receiving hate.
So.
But no, thank you so much, Dan, for joining me.
Thank you.
No, your insight has been very informative, and it'll give me a new sense of appreciation for some of these albums when I go back to listening.
Likewise,
to them.
as well. You know, I'm going to go back and listen to By the Way.
Yeah.
Just because.
Just to do it to yourself. If you guys want to check us out in our Kiss cover band that we play, we are at Crazy Nights. Look us up on YouTube, also on Instagram and Facebook. We, I think, pack a punch and do the Kiss music justice, and we have fun doing it. Dan is a hell of a musician that I nearly said hell of a magician, but let's just say that too. He's definitely a magician on my guitars and on the stage. But go check us out if you want to hear some straightforward Kiss music. But thank you so much, Dan, for joining me today. I've really appreciated it, man. This has been really fun.
No, it's been great. Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Till next time, guys.
Yeah.
Later.